All right. What's up, everybody? How is everyone? Today is a little bit different because I'm not at home. So we're going to be looking at this article. Whoops, copy paste. There we go. How is everyone? Today we are just reviewing some of this article. I'm not at home. I don't have my equipment with me. So we are just going to look at this article. How to read better on the IELTS and TOEFL. All right, so let's do it. Number one. So we're looking at this article from IELTS Liz. Great YouTube channel, IELTS Liz. Oh, wrong page. Hey, Firuz. So let's just go through some of this article and let's do it. Hey, Rahab. Okay, so develop skills. Number one, they say, if you're reading, specifically here for the IELTS or TOEFL, develop skills for each part of the test or the exam. So, better. Epic fail. What's up, Noah? Malik. So we're just looking at this article to look at some of the key points to improve your IELTS and TOEFL reading skills. Basically, some key strategies to make it better. No, Malik, you didn't miss anything because today we're just doing more of a casual look at some of the skills, some of the reading skills that will help you when taking the IELTS or TOEFL. So, number one is develop skills. Number one, develop skills for the specific questions on the test. That means preparing, practicing, doing that stuff, just becoming familiar with the parts of the test. That's obvious. You have to practice for that. That is basically exam preparation. But number two is a very important reading skill in English and in your own language so you don't waste time, and it's skimming and scanning. Skimming just means quickly going through, like exam, blah, blah, amen. It's just quickly going through to get information in a very concise. Concise means short and brief, but thorough. Let's do something quick here. Thorough. Can anyone pronounce this word for me? We're just talking about reading strategies. So this is used for the IELTS, the TOEFL, the TOEIC, any English exam or any type of reading in general. We're focusing on reading skills that will allow you to. All right, are we back? It froze again. Good stuff. Today's topic, what are we doing? We are using this article to look at reading strategies for IELTS, TOEFL, and other reading situations just to do it better. What's up, Anna? How you doing? So we're just looking at some general strategies. The one we're talking about now is scanning and skimming. It means not reading every word. It means looking for important keywords and avoiding fluff. This is a really good word, fluff, because fluff is talking about words in writing. Are we live again? Fluff. All right. We keep freezing. It keeps crashing. Let's see. Let's see if it can just stay by itself. Let me connect it to my computer just in case. Hey, Tenzin, we are experiencing cell phone difficulties at the moment. We were just talking about fluff. Fluff is the stuff in writing that doesn't matter. Fluff makes your writing bigger, longer, but it has unimportant language. So fluff is just the unimportant stuff in your writing. It makes your writing longer, but it doesn't make it better. Again, we are using this article just to look at some of these important points. So you have to develop these important skills to be able to skim and scan in writing because you don't want to waste your time. So look, that means number one, looking for important keywords. Keywords means the important language related to what you are reading about. Also, before you start, I don't see that in this article, but before you start, basically 0.1, know what you are reading and looking for, because you cannot skin or scan if you don't know what you're reading about or what information you're trying to get. So it's very important before you read that you write down specifically what you want to find, the type of information, because a lot of people just assume, so many technical difficulties today. A lot of people assume, this is not true, not true. Don't read everything. Have an idea of what you are reading for, make a checklist, and only read for that specific information. Don't waste your time reading everything. Only read the information that has the language you're looking for. Skim and scan for that information and ignore everything else. Ignore the fluff. All right? The other tip that she mentions is reading skills. I mean, obviously. Tell me, how many of you are reading? Do you read any English articles highlighting the important information? Exactly. Informations isn't a word. Information. Singular is a piece of information. We are all in the same boat. I know the app keeps shutting down today. What's up? If you're just here, we're using this article to get some info. Okay, so develop your reading skills. Is anyone here reading books or articles, blogs, anything else? What are you guys reading in English? Because when we talk about this, reading skills, you develop your reading skills. Your reading gets better if you read regularly. Okay, so are you reading articles, blogs, science, science journals? Especially if you're taking the IELTS or TOEFL. If you are taking the IELTS or TOEFL, what's that Rodolfo? How are things in Brazil? Is that how you say it? Or is it Rodolfo? Portuguese is such a crazy language. If you are taking the IELTS or the TOEFL, you want to read more academic things. Hey, Anise. Novels, articles, excellent. Especially, some people take the general versions of these exams. Then you can just read about general topics. But otherwise, read about more academic articles. That's the most helpful type of thing you can read about, because that is how, okay, so newspapers, when I get free time, if you are taking the IELTS or TOEFL, you need to start reading academic articles or just news articles. So go to New York Times, Washington Post, Science.com, read anything. Read anything about these. Okay, good to start reading some, but also pay attention. Pay attention. This is very helpful for you. Pay attention to how the articles are organized. Because when you read, if you are reading articles, it's the perfect opportunity. Whoops, that's spelled really wrong. Opportunity to see how you should organize your writing too. Rahab hates science, but still, science is very important for these tests. You will see tons of science vocabulary. Reading Little Women. Okay, but here's the thing. Little Women is not going to help for the IELTS or TOEFL. It's not very helpful vocabulary. It's good vocab, maybe in general. It's a little outdated, Malik. So if you want English to help you speak, I don't think Little Women is the best one. Because that's an older book, isn't it? Let me see. Little Women. I don't think I've read it. It's famous, right? Little Women. Oh, no, never mind. Oh, no, it's 1869. That's quite old. Little Women is not going to have very good vocabulary for spoken English for today or for the IELTS or TOEFL. What did you say, Firouz? I read some books, but the last one was 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. That sounds like a good book, because it has very good vocabulary, modern vocabulary about motivation, goals, activities. So that's good. But also, I would say this: you need to read articles, because you will get academic vocabulary and know how to form your essay. So read articles, because you get vocabulary, you improve your reading skills, and you learn how to write an essay. So read articles, because it will really help. No, don't. Here's the thing. If you are taking a test, don't read novels. Read articles, because you are also going to improve your writing skills at the same time. Don't read a novel, because that will not help you with the IELTS, not help you with the TOEFL, the TOEIC, or any English test where you have to write. Read articles, academic articles, or articles focused on, politics, science, health, but don't read novels if you want to take an exam. The Hound of Bakersville. Again, not good books for vocabulary, you guys. Not good books for common English. If you want a good novel, I recommend for everyday English is called Wonder. It's a very good book. However, stop stop reading these books if you are taking the IELTS or TOEFL. Read academic articles, read argumentative essays and stuff like that. So, New York Times, Science.com, anything, anything about politics, health. These are the main topics in the IELTS and TOEFL about entertainment, and especially current events, because then you will get all of that kind of grouped together using very good modern vocabulary. Okay, but stop reading those novels from like 1800s, early, 1920s. That's really old, outdated, not going to help you so much. Some other tips that we have here are don't try to understand everything. This is so true. Don't try to understand everything. This is why we this is why you need to skim and scan. Exactly. Malik, you can read it for fun. If you really enjoy the story, keep reading it, but don't read it to prepare for a test or an exam because it won't help you that way, and the vocabulary won't really help you with real English situations. So if you really like the book, read it for fun, but don't read it to improve your vocabulary or prepare for a test. Coffee time. All right. So again, this is basically just type in Wonder. It's a very famous book right now. Yeah, the Guardian is an excellent journal. Ferouz, the Guardian. There's now here's the thing. If you want American English, which is really for the TOEFL is going to use more American English because it's a more popular exam here. American English is the TOEFL exam. Use the English version. I'm sorry, the American version of the Guardian. So use the Guardian USA. If you want to take the IELTS, which is more European British English and Australian and Kiwi, so that's more kind of European, use the Guardian UK version because the Guardian has an American website and it has a British website. So use the British website for the IELTS, use the American website for the TOEFL. Developing vocabulary. This is important because a lot of people talk about this. How to develop vocabulary. Because you can't read if you don't know what you're reading, what the words are. Current events are very useful. I definitely agree. Because current events are going to talk about politics, entertainment, health, science, everything. That's why current events, just go on Google and type in current events articles, and you will get everything. But how to develop vocabulary? Basically this, to develop vocabulary, just start reading. Read about the topics you feel like you have the least vocabulary because it's going to help you the most. Because here's the thing, you need to see a word about 3 to 7 times before you memorize it. And you need to see it in real context, in articles, in movies, in interviews, etc. So you need to see the words several times in different articles being used in different ways so that you can really understand, feel comfortable, and know what the author is trying to say when they use that vocabulary. So definitely, if you want to improve your vocabulary, read, 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 and to really help you memorize it and to make you feel more comfortable and confident in the speaking part, speak the word out loud to practice the pronunciation. Okay? It's a very helpful strategy. It's going to help you a lot. So do it. The next one is basically related to skimming and scanning keywords. What are keywords? For example, when you type in a question you have online, you say something like this: how to learn English. The keywords here are learn and English. Those are the main keywords. How to learn English, basically. So when you're reading the keywords, basically, to make it simpler, keywords are just the important words related to the topic and information that you're looking for. So you need these keywords. You don't remember the other stuff. Do you remember the term that we use to describe a lot of the language that's not important? Fluff. In writing, fluff is the stuff that doesn't matter. It's just there to make the writing longer. Fluff is the writing that is not important. So you can ignore fluff. You want to focus on the keywords, and that's why you want to write down before you start. Write down what you are reading for. And usually on a test, it will tell you what you're reading for. But write down specifically what you are going to be reading for. Positive language, exactly what topic, what types of words, and that will really help guide you and help you read faster. The next one we have is grammar. Now, grammar is important if you want to read faster, but also reading is fluff can be used in any situation, favors. Reading is a pretty good way to find out what grammar you don't know. Yeah, Malik, grammar time. Now, I would say for reading, grammar is important to know what the author is trying to say. Grammar will help illustrate, that the time the author is talking about, as well as just help you understand. But if you're reading, it's also an easy way to see what grammar you don't know. So read to learn about grammar. And if you have a grammar question, of course, you can ask me during a live video on Instagram or YouTube. What about history? Of course, you want to study history too. Read about history, for sure. Definitely read about history. But going back to grammar, go on a site like italki. They have free writing corrections. So if all you have to do, just copy and paste the grammar. Whoops, spelled that wrong. You don't understand, and put it on italki for a kind of a free explanation from a native speaker. Just go to italki.com, go to I think it's community, then click on notebook, and write something. Just copy and paste your question, and you will get within like 1 or 2 hours a very nice explanation about that grammar. So that is a free way by yourself that you can get grammar corrections, and it's super helpful. I do it a lot for Spanish when I study Spanish, when I was studying Arabic. Yeah, it's for free, Malik. Also, if you want to practice more with native speakers, also on italki, italki.com, and what's it called, tandem.net, they have free language exchanges. So if you say, "Oh, I can't practice speaking with anyone," you are lying. You are a liar. Because on these websites they have free free language exchanges, and that's super helpful for speaking. You can just practice, like IELTS or TOEFL questions. Oh, you use it. Awesome, Malik. What's your experience with Tandem? Have you met a language partner? Remember, don't just say hey. When you meet someone, don't just say hey. Introduce yourself. Talk about your hobbies and interests, so you are not, so you're not seeming boring. Awesome, Malik. That's cool. And let's look at this one. Just remember, you guys, practice, practice. Whoops, practice makes perfect. So you're going. Reading is difficult. It's most difficult if you don't practice. And at the beginning, it will seem the most challenging. But if you can read just a little bit every day, you will get better very quickly. So to review, 1, skim and scan. That means avoid the fluff. Really, the first step, that's real and exchange languages. Yeah, Malik, I agree. It's awesome. Remember, skim and scan, that means avoid the fluff. What is fluff? That's the writing that doesn't matter. Number 2, speed. Again, this is more about avoiding the fluff, but go quickly. Just basically, for our other points, focus on the keywords. That means the words and information related to the topic you're reading about, or the information that you need. And that's really, and then finally just practice. I don't even know if this is number 5, but practice, 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 practice. All right. So if you have any other questions, today was very quick. To practice vocabulary, I create Excel files, or an Excel file, says iRead. Is it iRead? And then upload it to Quizlet. Yeah, Quizlet's great. I use Anki for vocabulary, but definitely flashcards are a really good idea. Quizlet is a really nice app too. Um, it's great. I like Anki because they have what's it called? Oh, I can't remember the term, but they have an algorithm so you see your vocabulary again. But definitely, it's a very good app, Quizlet. So definitely check it out. Go to Quizlet.com. It's mostly free. There are some paid features, but it's one of the best vocabulary or flashcard apps. Drink ginger and cinnamon for your throat, Callan. It's always because I wake up early, and it's like my throat's just waking up. And I was at actually the reason my throat is sore today. I was at a basketball game last night, and I'm a bit tired. All right, but you guys, I will see you on Instagram.com/ for your English in 30 minutes. For more reading practice, or I guess more reading advice, and your other English questions. So if you have any English questions, go on Instagram right now, put your questions in the story, and I will answer them live. Otherwise, I will see you Monday for more phrasal verbs. So, no problem, Anna. I will see you on Monday for phrasal verbs. I will see you in 30 minutes on Instagram. And I'll see you. Oh, Malik, you might have to put it again. I made a mistake. I accidentally erased some questions. So you might have to put your question again. So I will see you later. All right. How is everyone? I hope you are having a good day, a good morning, good afternoon, whatever. We are talking about IELTS and TOEFL, the speaking parts. We are going to start by looking at an article related to travel. It is in the description and in the live chat. We're going to start with travel, get some really good vocabulary, and then we're going to use some of that vocab to organize our spoken responses, to find out how to actually talk and how to respond about this very, very popular topic related to travel. No problem, Rahab. Good to see you here. Okay, so let's start. In this article, we are going to look at some points that the author thinks are very important or very, very beneficial when you travel. Hey, Kayala. Because these are very common questions. Questions like, do you think travel is important? Why or why not? Describe the best trip you ever took. We always say to take a trip. That means to go on a trip, to take a trip. And also something like, where do you want to travel in the future? So in order to answer these questions in spoken English, you have to be ready to talk about them. So let's look at the article now, look at some of this vocabulary, so you are ready when you have to speak about it and to have some reasons and arguments. And we'll discuss more the structure of your spoken response in just a second. So here we go, 10 powerful reasons why people love to travel from Betsy Goldberg. Let's see what she has to say. Reason 1. So again, we have about 3 or 4 reasons here. These are good, really good examples to use in your response, and we're going to see how she adds some detail to each of them, because that's what you need to do. So number 1, challenging yourself. She says you might feel like you're stuck in a rut. If you are stuck in a rut, it means just to be stuck, unmotivated, maybe depressed. That's to be in a rut, or especially if you're stuck in a rut. Hey Lola, it means you're just really stuck. So if you're feeling stuck in a rut or in your daily life, travel is really good. Or you're yearning for something exciting and different, you're craving. Yearning, she just explained it, is craving. To be yearning for something. We just say, whoops, that's not what I want. We just say to be craving means yearning. But we say yearn for, and we just say craving something. Journey, is it sea travel? No, journey is any type of trip. Journey sounds longer though. Sea travel is any type of sea travel. So you're craving new experiences and new challenges. Travel is the ideal place to test yourself. It means just, do something new. It pushes people to their limits and gets them outside of their comfort zone. All right, so in your comfort zone, it's just, situations you feel comfortable in, not difficult, not challenging. Okay. So we've already got a ton of examples here, but there's one more paragraph. You'll discover how resourceful you are. Okay. If you're resourceful, it means you can do a lot with what's available. So it's very, very important to be resourceful when you travel, right? And when you're exposed means when you go to new places, people and experiences, or you experience, especially like for the first time when you're exposed to something. Maybe it's finding your way around a busy city, or ordering a meal when you don't speak the language, or zip lining. Zip lining is like when you go down. It's something you do in nature. So we already have one benefit or one reason to enjoy traveling, and that's because it can be a challenge. And we have tons of examples here to challenge yourself to escape a boring situation, like what Hobbes said, or you're yearning for excitement, to get out of your comfort zone, resourceful. So these are all examples. Now what you want to do is to add detail to those examples. And the author doesn't really do that here. They say you can go zip lining. Okay, it's a challenge, but add a story, add some detail. That's the most important part when you give your response. So that's one example you can give. Maybe you want to challenge yourself. That's why you like travel. Let's look at the next one, learning. Learning is a strong reason why people love to travel. They want to experience something unfamiliar and leave with new skills or knowledge. If something is unfamiliar, it's just new, something you have not done or really heard about before. So that's unfamiliar. And for us, travel is great because it is really unfamiliar. Seeing the world is more educational than a high school or college class. Ooh, this is really good. This condensed crash course in discovering how the rest of the world actually lives will cover subjects like history, geography, and sociology. If something is condensed, it means shortened, compact. So it's a lot in a little. Let's think about it that way. A crash course, really good here too. There's also a very, very helpful, very educational YouTube channel called Crash Course. A crash course is a brief but very intense introduction to something. That is a crash course. So a crash course in discovering how the rest of the world lives actually will cover sub. Okay, we talked about that. Every destination has something unique to teach visitors, and immersing themselves in a completely different world is the best learning experience. So a ton of good information here, and that is the second example you can use, learning. If someone asks you why do you like to travel, you now have two extremely good examples to give, or reasons, challenging yourself and learning. We have one more. Let's take a quick look at it. She mentions expanding your perspective. To expand something just means to increase in size. So expanding your perspective is your point of view, how you think, your point of view, how you see the world. So number three, expanding your perspective. Now, usually you just want one or two examples, one or two reasons. Don't use three, but we're going to look at this one just a little bit to give you some more vocabulary that you can use. Expanding your perspective. Okay, so that's the best. So use that one, Lola, and then add one more. Add one of these other ones, because you usually want to give two reasons and then add examples in detail for each of them. So she says here, another reason why people love to travel, it helps open your mind. What does it mean to open your mind? It just means expand your perspective. It means to see more things, become more open-minded, expand your perspective. So pretty understandable there. Ooh, hey Tenzin. You realize that there's no one way to live life. Right. There's multiple ways. Meeting people from other places will show you that your worldview isn't the same as everyone else's. And we'll stop here with the article, with worldview. Worldview means, again, how you see the world, how you understand life. So when you travel, you get a bigger worldview. You understand things are different. There's more or different ways that people live, work, suffer, enjoy, all of that stuff. So we have three really good reasons here. So meet me in the document if you're not there already. So now how do we form? So first of all, in the spoken response, I should say, this is now our main topic right here, and we want to discuss how to form our spoken response. So the biggest thing, if you're taking the IELTS, you want to start by showing that you're thinking. So let's say they ask, describe the best trip you ever took. Explain why. For the IELTS, you're actually talking to someone. There's the proctor sitting in front of you with papers asking you questions. So it's a real conversation. If you're taking a test like the TOEFL, it's just you sitting in front of the computer. So you don't want to use any of this transitional speech widening. I'm not sure what you mean. For the IELTS, you want to start by using some of these filler words like well, just to show that you are starting to think after you get the question. This is good because it shows that you have more of a fluent way to show that you are thinking before you actually give your response. So start with that if you really need to think, only for the IELTS. Because if you do that for the TOEFL, the machine, the computer will automatically start recording you when you make your first sound. So don't do it for the TOEFL. Only start responding for the TOEFL when you are ready. And then again, for the TOEFL, you get 15 seconds to prepare. Basically, think of it in the IELTS, you get the same amount of time. That's why you want to start saying like, or well, because you get about maybe 5 to 10 seconds to do that, and then to start giving your actual response. And so when you give your actual response, again, our question that we're using here as our example is, I should write this, or I should say, describe the best trip you ever took. Give reasons and explanation. So when you start responding to this, you want to start immediately with your answer, what it is, your opinion. So here it's just a thing, but sometimes you have to say if you agree or disagree. In this case, we're just saying the best trip we ever took. So I'm going to say the best trip I ever took, and we just say it like this. The best trip I ever took was, because it's in the past, right? The best trip I ever took was to, we'll say France. Why not? So the best trip I ever took was to France. Now what you want to do is give 2 reasons why it was the best reasons. Just 2, that's a couple. Filler words, not really. Filler words are just well, they're just little sounds with no meaning. There's really not any informal or formal ones, but good question. We can also say, let me see, let me think about that, but they're not really informal or formal. They work well in any situation. So that's why we looked at this article first, because now we want our couple reasons. And the article gave us a ton of good reasons. You can challenge yourself in a trip. You can learn. You can expand your perspective. Again, we just want 2, so I'm going to use expanding perspective, because that's what Lola mentioned. It's expanding probably your perspective. So that means basically learning. And the other one we're going to use is challenging yourself. Okay. Learning and challenging yourself. Basically meaning like obstacles. Now what we want to do, what people do, the biggest mistake people do is they keep just adding more examples. You can learn. There are obstacles. Good food. There are new people. Cool places to see. These are just examples. We don't want more and more examples because if you do that, it shows that you are unable to describe. So after you give 2 examples, we want description. That means giving stories, explain, give reasons. So stop there. So we have perspective. So create a story. If you don't have one, make one up. That means invent a story. Exactly. Less examples and more details. Perfect, Lola. I should be on the other side. I could not agree more. That's exactly what we want to do. And then, what's our other one? We had obstacles, right? So obstacles. So create a story about that. What type of travel is sea travel? It's anything on the sea, on the water, and on a boat. So now, here's the thing. If it's easier to respond, create a completely untrue story. It doesn't matter. The person, especially for the IELTS, just wants to see that you are able to discuss the topic. Again, it's the same for the TOEFL, but for the TOEFL, the only real difference is that you're just talking to a computer. That's it. So let's do this. And then finally, at the end, We want a conclusion. And you'll just say, that's why that was my favorite trip. Remember, don't introduce any new information in your conclusion, right? It's just a summary, just to review briefly what you already said. You don't have to introduce any new information. Don't do that. That's not a conclusion. That's adding a new example and detail. We don't want that. So we give a very short introduction, or your opinion, or the thing, and that's just, in this case, the best trip I ever took was this. And for me, I said it was a trip to France. A couple of reasons why. First, this is kind of transitional vocabulary. So I'd say first, blah, blah, blah. First, the food was amazing. For example, this is now my detail. And then I say, you know, the baguettes were fresh and delicious, and the bakeries had the most amazing coffee. Well, that's not really learning, so I'm not using the real examples I said I would. But okay, for obstacles, I will. Next, I can say, I had to speak in French, even though it was challenging. And before that, I will say second, because it's my second reason. So I would say second, even though it's challenging. And then I could say, for example, I had to order all of my food in French. And then say I went to a little restaurant. It was challenging, but I persisted, I kept trying, and I did it. And then finally, I conclude, and I say, that is why my trip to France was the best trip I ever took. Now, I want you to now respond to this question, and I'll respond to it at the same time. So this is our new question here. So here we go. Where do you want to travel? Whoops. In the future? So what do you think? What are some things that we can discuss? So remember, we want an intro. We want and here our intro is basically saying, you know, where we want to travel. We want to give examples, 2 examples with detail. And then finally, a conclusion. So where should we travel? I'm thinking Japan. Japan's a place I want to travel. Yeah, I think Japan's a good one. So where do we want to travel? I'm going to say Japan. You can think of your own. All right, so Japan. Now I have to think why. Remember, you're kind of constructing this in your head. This is, at this moment, you might still be out loud saying, do that for the IELTS. It shows you're thinking while preparing. We do this naturally in conversation. That's why you should do it for the IELTS, to show that you are able to fluently have a conversation. All right, I'm going to change it from Japan to South Korea. That's a good idea too, Lola. Oh, Chicago. Yeah, I love Chicago, obviously. We're going to use South Korea, though, because I like that example. Now, my two examples, right? Now, for the TOEFL, if you're taking the TOEFL, don't say anything while you're thinking. You have 15 seconds to prepare specifically for the TOEFL. But here, if you're taking the IELTS, you're going, and you're thinking of your examples, and then you just have to start responding, even if you're not completely ready. So what are the reasons we want to go to South Korea? Let's say to visit a big city like Seoul. How do you spell Seoul? I think it's like that. And we'll say number 2, to try authentic Korean food. So these are our 2 specific examples. S-E-O-U-L. I got it right. Now, don't give more examples. Don't say, I want to go to a beach. I want to meet people. I want to learn Korean. Those are just examples. Stop. If you do that, you will fail. You will get a terrible, terrible band score. So don't just give examples. It's the biggest mistake I see people make. So I give my first example, and I add detail. And Tenzin wants to go to New York City. It's fun. It's a lot of stuff to see. So I say I want to visit, and we need transitions. So I'll say first, to visit a big city like Seoul. For example, we use for example to add the detail. Yeah, there's a lot to do. That's the thing. There's oh my throat. There's always a lot to do, but we don't care, because we're just trying to show that we can have a real conversation in English. We're not trying to show that we know everything about Korean culture, right? So we say, for example, in Seoul, I actually don't know very much about Seoul. We could say, I'm making this up. See, I don't know, so I'm inventing a story. There is we'll say, a beautiful part or district, part of the city Las Vegas, right? Part of the city where you can buy the the most interesting flowers. This type of flower market, is only available in parts of South Korea. See, I just made that up, but it works perfectly. First, I want to visit a big city like Seoul because for some reason it has this amazing flower market and it's the only place that you can find these flowers. Second, now my second reason, second is transitioning. Second, to try authentic Korean food. You see, and you see is good because it shows that I'm going to add detail. You see, I've had lots of Korean food in the United States and even in Europe. And again, this is kind of true, but I'm making it up because I don't really eat that much Korean food. But everyone tells me the best Korean food is only available in South Korea. Okay? Oh, the topics for the IELTS and the TOEFL are exactly the same. The only difference is that for the IELTS, you're speaking to someone. For the TOEFL, you are being recorded on a computer. The question we're doing now is a very popular type of question for the first question you'll get. On the TOEFL, this is speaking question 1. For IELTS, this is just like the main question you'll get after introducing yourself. Yeah, kimchi, exactly. So I gave my 2 examples and I added some very nice detail. Now I conclude. I say, and that's why I want to visit South Korea. So let me give the whole response at one time. Here we go. For my next trip, I would really like to visit South Korea. First, I'd like to visit a city like Seoul because they have a beautiful flower market and you can only get these flowers in that specific market. So I've been waiting to go for a long time and I'm very excited. Second, to finally try authentic Korean food. I've had lots of Korean food before here in the US and even in Europe, but my friends always tell me you can only get the best, most authentic Korean food if you visit Seoul. So those are the 2 reasons I want to visit Seoul, and I hope to do it soon. That is really a perfect response. You had an introduction, you transitioned by having first and then your example, second and then your second example, using so or you see to transition to give you detail, and then finally your conclusion. So if you want, try writing your own to this question. I'm going to give you a new question though. Are you ready? Let's do this one. So if you want a challenge, please respond to this. Using everything I gave you in the Google document, an introduction, your 2 reasons why with detail. Hey, Tai Kim, we're just finishing here. So give me your introduction. It's telling me why you think travel is important. Then give me the 2 reasons why with detail. Don't just give me more examples. And then a very short conclusion. Okay? So I will see you in 30 minutes on Instagram. We will review this a little bit, and then I will answer some more of your English questions. So it was great seeing you, and I will see you on YouTube again on Monday for more vocabulary with phrasal verbs, and Instagram as usual in 30. Hey, all right. We are all here. Oof. Quite a few topics. We got topics galore. Galore just means a lot. So galore, a lot of topics, you guys. We are going to start with our most important, this. Oh, I spelled galore. There should be an R in there. Number 1, past habits, using used to, would, and just the past simple. Number 2, I want to talk a little bit about when we use the gerund, the ing form of the verb, also the present participle, and when we should use the infinitive. So looking at those differences. Hey, Mehdi. And then number 3, we are going to be looking, I hope to, a little bit at when to use for and when to use to, just kind of general prepositions. Hey, Firuz. But let's get started with the important stuff. And I'll write that again just so you guys have it. Galore. So we're going to look now at, and I'm going to hide the comments just for a little bit. Good morning, Rahab. Everybody, just for a second, I'm going to hide, hey Kayala, I'm just going to hide the comments on my screen. I think it will hide it for everyone, just so I can see exactly what I'm teaching, because your comments get in the way. Hey Abir, hey everybody. I'm just going to turn off the live chat while explaining the grammar for past habits, and then I will turn it back on to do some more practice. Hi Zayed, hi everyone. I'm just going to hide it for a little bit. Okay, so let's start here. Let's start actually in the present. Hey Abhishek, so this is, our main topic is the past habits. So let's start actually in the present though, because in the present, we are talking about things that we do generally. It's as a habit. I do them, starting in the past, present, and future. Not all of the time. Maybe today I don't eat breakfast, but generally it's a habit that I do. It's an action, a repeated action. And that is when we can use used to, would plus the infinitive, and the past simple. So I can say in the past, right? This is all in the past. I used to play the saxophone. Maybe I would play the saxophone, and I played the saxophone. They all mean past habits that I did in the past. Now, if we want to connect them to the present, or to show a relationship to the present, we can say, I used to play saxophone, and I still do. That's the short response. Or we can say, I used to play saxophone, and I still play the saxophone. So that shows that a past habit continues today. So it's still a present habit, a present regular action. And then if we don't anymore, then we would say, I used to, or I did, or I would play saxophone, but not anymore. Okay? So, but not anymore. Or are the titles reversed? Oh, it should be right. Maybe it's the camera. Is it the camera? It looks... Huh. I wonder why. I have to fix these. It must be the camera, the way I have it. Okay. But we say, but not anymore, or but I don't play the saxophone anymore. Okay. Yeah, I'm not using the regular camera. I'm using the other camera. I'm using the regular camera because it has a better quality, but it's making, I guess it's changing it. You're exactly right. Okay, what is this? I got an alert about updating my Java. Okay, so these are for actions. Actions that we do, like to eat, to walk, to play. This is when we can use would. All right? So when we're talking about actual actions, we can use I used to and the infinitive, the past simple, or would and the infinitive. But when we are talking about states of being, these are not actions. This is how you feel, how you were in that moment, not specific actions. Here we cannot use would. Cannot use would. Now I know for next time if I keep using this camera, I don't have to do this. But yeah, you can understand me. So these are states, or basically stative verbs, like I was. When we use to be, in the past we cannot use would for past habits. We have to only use, or we can only use used to and past simple. So we can say I was a baby, or I used to be a baby, not would. Because when we use would and then to be, it sounds like a conditional sentence. So we have here, I used to be a student, or I was a student, not would. It's a state. A chef. I was a chef. I used to be a chef. So these are states. I can't use would. If I said I would be a chef, it's a conditional. Like I would be a chef if I had the training. And then here, just remember it's I used. I, the subject, or he, she, USED, past tense. If you ask a question, did you used to? Then we use, because after did or do are our question words, we use the infinitive. So did you used to would be did you, and then USE in the infinitive. Okay, that's important. Only really in grammar. In spoken English, you don't notice the difference. So I used to be angry. Angry is a state, right? It's not an action. It's a state of being. So I can't use would. We can use all three, would, used to, and past simple, when we are describing real actions. I used to play saxophone. I used to wake up early. I would wake up early every day. I woke up early every day. In the past, real actions. But when we're talking about states of being right here, we only use used to and the past simple. That's very important. And just one last time, when we take a past action and we continue, we say I used to and I still do, or I used to, I would, or I did, and I continue. But if not anymore, if it is no longer, if it is no longer happening, we say, but I don't anymore. But I don't play saxophone anymore. And that is the most important stuff. And that is our topic for past habits. We use would for future tense, right? No, we use will. Would, you could use would for possibility in that sense. Hypothetical, hey Paulina. Use will for the future. Would has some different uses, and that's all explained in different sections of the course. But let's keep going. So I'll give you a few more examples here. I would play soccer. I used to play soccer. I played soccer. These are all in the past, maybe in high school. Now, if I continue, I can say and. And I still play soccer is the short response. Or, and, I'm sorry, that's the long response. The short response is, and I still do. But if I stopped, I would say, but not anymore. That's the short response. The long response is, but I don't play soccer anymore. Teach us this difference between used. Exactly, yeah. Used to with the D is past. Use we use after asking a question. I would love to see my friend, but that is not. I would love to see my friend. We can talk about the future another time. Right now, I just wanted to describe those habits, and now actually what I want to discuss with you actually, a little bit more, is about when to use the gerund and when to use the infinitive. So first, we have some rules, but this is also just a lot of vocabulary. So actually, I should tell you. Our topic is gerund or infinitive. So we have some rules, but also it's just a lot of vocabulary you have to memorize. So let's start with the rules though, because they are pretty easy. So number one, gerunds are commonly used as nouns in sentences. In spoken and written English, it's super common. Eating healthy is important. Playing sports is fun. Sleeping is relaxing. Now we can use the to infinitive as a noun too, but it's so formal that we really don't use it anymore. Maybe in some poetry or something like that, but it's not common. It's Shakespeare. It's like to be or not to be. Don't use it. You will sound like Shakespeare long ago in the past, so don't do it. So that's the first rule. We can use the gerund as a noun. We can also use the to infinitive as a noun, but it's not common at all. Never use it. Never use it. That's my advice. Never use it. Now also, both gerunds and the infinitive come after verbs. That means they can be the object, but it changes. So for example, I'm sorry, well actually, for some verbs, they can use both of them. Some verbs can only use one, and when some verbs use both, the meaning doesn't change. Like, I like playing, I like to play. But if I say I stopped to play, it means I stopped doing one thing in order to do another thing. And if I say I stopped playing, it means I just finished the action. It was finished. And then some only have one option, like to enjoy doing something. So it's to enjoy doing something. We can't say I enjoy to do something. It just does not exist, and it sounds very strange. Okay. And then we have our third rule, which is that when we have the infinitive, or I'm sorry, we use the infinitive after most adjectives, really all of the time. So here it's just going to be the verb to be, the adjective, and then to and the infinitive. Like, it's easy to learn, or they were hard to understand. But we can switch it, remember? Because we can use the gerund as a noun. So we can also say learning is easy, or understanding them was hard. So that was rule 3. Now, rule 4, with verbs that are followed by a noun, we usually use the infinitive to connect it to a different action. Action is the important part there, and I have a few examples. I asked her to give me a ride. They invited me over. To invite someone over is just to invite someone to your house. They invited me over to watch the game. If you follow it, though, with a noun, you'll want to use for. Oh, we connected. All right. It's always crashing, you guys. Always. So I was just explaining the other rule, which is that if you follow the verb with a noun, we're focusing more on the thing and not an action. So, for example, I asked her for a ride. They invited me over. Sorry, my throat. They invited me over for the game. So it's just a small change in the difference, in how we're kind of putting our attention or focus. But they both really mean the same thing. Okay, and then fifth, after really all prepositions, there's just one exception, one difference, and I'll tell you. We use the gerund, not the infinitive. So for example, I saw a movie about racing cars. Thanks for giving me a ride. She is hard of is the preposition, of hearing. There is one exception, and that is when we use but to mean except. Usually we use but, or it's much more common to use but as a conjunction. So to connect different parts of a sentence. But when we use but as a preposition to mean except, then it is followed by the infinitive. So for example, we had no option but to come here, meaning that was our only option. I think I had, yeah, there is no way to go there but to rent a car. So here we mean except. It's the only viable option. Remember, this is only when we're using but as a preposition, not as a conjunction. Okay. So that was that. Now I just have one more topic. We're going to look at when to use to and when to use for, and then we are going to do a lot more practice. And I will write more rules, okay, Abhishek? So we will review and all of that good stuff. But now, when to use to, when to use for. Let's look at some helpful rules to help you remember to and for. It's not that difficult, so come on. First, to express reason. If you want to express reason, to express purpose, you can use both. But if you use to, you want to follow it with a verb. If you use for, you want to follow it. I'm sorry, what did I just say? If you use for, follow it with a noun. If you use to, follow it with the infinitive. I went to the theater for a movie. To focuses on action, for focuses on the thing. Use whichever. The meaning just changes a little bit if we're focusing more on the action or the thing. I went to the theater for a movie. I went to the theater for a movie. Or I went to the theater, to watch a movie. So we're focusing on the verb to watch. So I went to the theater to watch a movie. It's just a slight difference in expressing the reason. But if we say I went to the theater for a movie, we're just saying I did it for something. So for plus a noun, to plus the verb or action in the infinitive. Second, to show who is getting something and describing situations. Here are two examples. Send this to him. Why do we use to? Because we're actually expressing motion and movement, When we use verbs related to motion and movement, we use to. Like when traveling, I traveled to Alaska. But here's a different example. I bought this for you. This is a situation. I bought something. It is for you, and maybe eventually I'm going to give it to you. Give it to you, expressing the movement. But the situation just describes what we have happening at this time. Often in the same sentence, we will use both of these. So for example, I have something for your brother. This is describing the situation. Can you give it to him? Now we're describing movement, motion. Okay? So let's move on to our third one, intention, to show what you want someone to do. With verbs that are followed by a noun, we usually use the infinitive to connect that noun to a different action. This is focusing. We do this when we want to focus on an action. I asked her to give me a ride. They invited me over to watch the game. But if we use for plus a noun, we are focusing on a thing, not an action. So I asked her for a ride. They invited me over for the game. Again, to invite someone over just means to invite someone to your house. So the meanings are very similar. Just with for plus a noun, we're focusing on a thing, and with to in the infinitive, we're focusing on an action. And finally, we have one more, and I just want to focus on the difference between to do something to someone and to do something for someone. To do something to someone is to make that person the object, to affect them in some way. So someone asks you, what did you do to him? Maybe you made him happy, upset, angry. Maybe you even killed the person. I don't know, but you impacted that person in some way. Now, to do something for someone is to do something in that person's place, to do it on their behalf, to basically be acting as a substitute for the person in that moment. So someone asks, what did you do for him? Well, maybe, I did their homework. I did the homework for Mark. So Mark didn't do the homework. I did it for him on his behalf in his place. And that's really the most important stuff you need to remember about when to use for and to. Okay, so now let's look closer now. I'm going to turn this chat so I can see you more easily again. Some examples. Let's review some of the rules. Hey, Mohit. So let's go back. I'm going to write some of this down in the comments. So remember, when we use past actions, past habits, we can use would, we can use used to, and we can use past simple. Okay, I think you got that. But for actions, really concrete actions like to play the saxophone, to go somewhere, we can use all of them. All of them. But when it's states of being, just used to, and the past simple. Remember? So here, playing the saxophone, I can use all three. But these are states of being. Was a baby, used to be a chef, was a student, used to be angry. So that's the difference. It's very important. And then I think, where did we go after that? And then just about the gerund and the infinitive. Remember, we can use the gerund as a noun. Eating, playing, sleeping. We can also technically use the infinitive as a noun, but it's just not common at all. I really recommend you don't use it because you will probably be laughed at. It's just not common. And then depending if you want to focus on a noun, a thing, we can use for. If you want to focus on an action, we want to use to. Swimming, exactly, that's a good example. And then after an adjective, we almost always use to. So I'm happy to help you. She's excited to go. But remember, we can also turn the to, I guess our to infinitive here, into a noun using the gerund, which is very common in spoken and written English. So what did we say before? Learning is easy. Understanding them was difficult. See if you can give me an example. Write it in the comments to see what you got. And then, yeah, we just talked about a few more. I want to, because a really big thing here with to and for. Just remember that when you do something to someone, you are affecting them, impacting them, changing them in some way. When you do something for someone, you are acting on their behalf. So there was a lot of grammar that I wanted to do today. I found out that I don't have to change this when I'm using this camera, just the front-facing camera. So that's good to know. Talking to him. Remember, it's always to talk to someone. If you have examples, if you want to write any examples using for or to, or if you have any questions or want to give examples with the past habits, write those. But otherwise, I will see you on Instagram in 30 minutes. Tomorrow we'll be doing some IELTS and TOEFL, I think, speaking practice. So really how to structure our responses. Remember, if you didn't know, join me on Instagram at instagram.com/foryourenglish. So today, sorry we couldn't chat so much. I really just wanted to discuss all of these different grammar topics. So I will see you later. Take care. And we got one example here from Lola. I used to play basketball in high school. Usually we say in high school because we're talking about like a more abstract idea of time. If you give me the question tomorrow, sure, but I am done here. Hey. Hello, it's Callan. Good to see you. We are live. What is today's topic? Today's topic is phrasal verbs. So what are phrasal verbs? First of all, phrasal verbs are these kind of like verb and preposition combinations. In combinations, we use them a ton, a lot in English. And today specifically, today's topic, we are talking about phrasal verbs related to travel. Is my audio working? Hold on. It looks like it's working. Is it working? Yeah, it is. Hey, what's up? Nice to see you. Is the audio working? All right. So we are talking phrasal verbs related to travel. Today's topic, phrasal verbs and travel. So let's get started. First of all, let's look at the verbs. We're looking at to buy, to cash. Usually this is always in a phrasal verb, but we can say to cash something like a check, to pay. Hey, what's up? And save. All right. So let's first look at these verbs to make sure that you understand them. Perfecto. Wow. I'm glad that it's working. Hey, what's up, Mohit? How are you? All right. So first of all, to buy something is the same as to purchase. All right. So these are the verb meanings completely by themselves, just as regular verbs, not phrasal verbs. So still very important. So to buy is to purchase. It is also irregular. It is irregular, which means in the past it becomes bought. Right? Then we have to cash. This is almost always for a check, the amount of money that you get, at the end of the week or every 2 weeks. So we cash a check. Cash a check. This is the only time we really use cash as a verb by itself. So to cash a check, it means to take your money you earn and put it in the bank. That is to cash a check. The next one we have is to pay. To pay, usually to pay for something, meaning to purchase something. But we can also say to pay someone, meaning to give money to someone. All right. And then finally, our last one, I believe, was to save, right? To save money, or just to save, means to put money, that's a phrasal verb too, to store your money, to put it in one spot, to make it grow. All right, let's keep going. So those are the verbs by themselves. Now we are going to look at how we can use them as phrasal verbs related to money, or we can say moolah. You can spell moolah a lot of different ways. Here are a couple. That just means money. All right, so first we have to buy someone. Oh, sorry, we can also say to buy someone out. Oh, I did put that on the list. All right, so to buy someone out means to pay someone a quantity of money to put aside is like to save. That's exactly what I was going to mention, because to put something aside is a phrasal verb. And when talking about money, it means to save money. When talking about just your things, it means to store them, like in your attic, in the basement, or just to put them away. But our first one, to pay someone, or I'm sorry, to buy someone out, is to give them money, an amount of money to either to leave a business. So for example, I can say, I bought out my business partner. That means it's completely my business now. All right. And that's really the only time that we use it. So we usually buy someone out, meaning to get the majority of something, specifically a business. But there's another one, which is to buy someone off. So the preposition really changes here. So it's to buy someone off, and this is much more common. This is a really good one. To buy someone off means to bribe someone, basically to give someone money in order to corrupt them. So this is usually used in relation to corruption and bribery. So for example, hey, I'm good, Tenzin. Nice to see you. Nice to see everybody here. Give an example related to what? This is our first YouTube, you guys. So my example for to pay someone off is here. For example, the ex-president of Brazil tried to pay off, I don't know if this is true, tried to pay off a business person, or a business person really tried to pay off the president of Brazil. What on earth? Hold on, we're focusing on these phrasal verbs. We'll do some questions later. All right, so to pay someone off is to bribe someone. So for example, I can say, I tried to bribe the police officer. I had to buy off the examiner in order to get my driver's license. Perfect. I love it. All right. We could also say, what to say? Yeah, so to give someone a bribe, to pay someone off, and then we can also say to buy someone off. So for example, I was in trouble with, I can't think of an example. What's an example? Usually politicians buy people off. Very wealthy people, we have this idea of buying people off, meaning giving them a bribe, some money related to corruption. All right, let's do something else now. Another phrasal verb here. To buy something up. To buy something up. This one actually makes some sense related to the verb and the preposition. So to buy something up means to buy all or most of it. Thank you so much, Nikita. Nikita, how do you supposed to say that? Pavlov. All right, Nikita Pavlov. Thank you. To buy something up has two meanings, but very, very similar, almost identical. So first, to buy something up can mean to buy all of it, right? So if I buy, I'll give you an example. Because of the storm, she bought up all of the food at the store. Yeah, bribes can be very common. You still see them, but I think some people say they become part of the political system in the US. But definitely bribes may be more common when there's less infrastructure, less of a political system. So because of the storm, she bought up all of the food, means she bought all of the food or most of it. It sounds closer to like all of it, but that is to buy something up. So it's kind of the idea of buying an excess amount. In Thanksgiving, I would say this during Thanksgiving. We can say during Thanksgiving. Here's the difference here. This is explained in my grammar course. When we say during a holiday, it means like before, the day of, and maybe after. But if you want to say, Zayed, the specific day, for any day, we say on Thanksgiving, turkeys get bought up, but never in. We don't use in with dates. Never use in with dates, all right? But that's a great example. It's perfect. On Thanksgiving in the US, we buy up all of the turkeys. All right, man. Great example. It's fire, bro. All right, let's keep going. So that was to buy something up, and we're going to review at the end. So be ready for the review, all right? And then we have to cash in on something. Any guesses, you guys? So we talked about to cash. So the meaning is actually fairly close to the original verb. But to cash in, I'm from the US. How do you say that? Mohit? Do you pronounce the H? Or how is it said? I'm from the US. I'm from, no one knows where I'm from because I'm from Wisconsin in the US. It's north of Chicago, north of Illinois. All right. I woke up when I went on to cash in on something. So I told you to cash something. Usually a check means to get your money that you earned. And now to cash in on something, cash in on. So we have two prepositions, in and on, means usually to get money from something by selling it. So for example, I owned some Tesla stock and decided to cash in on it. Mohit. All right, awesome. Which part of India? I've been to the north, Amritsar, Varanasi, Calcutta, New Delhi, and Amritsar. I've never been to the south though, or really the central or the far north. To invest, not to invest, but good guess, Tenzin. No, like I just said, to cash in on something means typically to sell something and get money from it. So it's usually like stocks, or if you just have something and you can get money from it. So for example, I can say this. You can cash in on your English skills. I'm saying that if you get this skill, you can get money from it later. You're not literally selling it in this example, not literally selling it anymore, but you can get money from this skill. All right. So that's what I'm talking about there. Let's see. So that's to cash in, to pay off. Remember, we're going to do a review at the end. So don't worry. Try to take some notes as we go and get ready for the review at the end. All right. So the next one is to pay someone off. Any guesses? We've actually discussed a phrasal verb already in this lecture that has the same meaning. It can be slightly different, but there's one meaning for this phrasal verb, to pay someone off, that is by far means overwhelmingly. You're outside, so no notes. Don't worry. You don't have to take notes. So by far, the most popular meaning for to pay someone off is to bribe someone. And remember, we did this one already. It's to buy someone off. You completely pay what you owe them? No, we wouldn't use that here. Here, to pay some, here we go. Hey, how are you? Oh, you're from, oh, okay. Oh, I'd love to go back to India, but no, not anytime soon. It's a beautiful country. All right. No, it's great, you guys. Keep chatting with me. Ask any questions. Tell me about yourself, and then let's turn this into a conversation. But to pay someone off is basically to bribe someone. It is to buy someone off. Remember, we just talked about this meaning. I suck at getting cash. Remember, it's always to suck at doing something, because it's almost exactly the same as to be bad. To pay through the nose, that can mean it's very expensive. I've never used this phrasal verb actually, but it's more of a passive idiom. Phrasal verb. In terms of passive, I would say this is your example. To pay through the nose, I would say it's more passive vocabulary, meaning not used very often, but understood by native speakers. But here, to pay someone off is really good. It just means to bribe someone. Like we said before, to buy someone off. So this is good. For example, what could we say? I'm trying to think of examples where we use bribes. We can say, he was a dirty politician. So he tried to pay off the businessmen. To buy someone off, exactly. So these are the same. I think there's a slight delay, so I'm sorry for that. But yeah, to buy someone off is to pay someone off. The exact same. Because Tenzin said before it's to pay someone completely, but that's just to pay someone. So that is just the verb. Don't even need the phrasal verb for that. All right. We've got a couple more here. The next one, actually, Tenzin, try this one again. To pay up. This has a very literal meaning, And there's also more of an abstract, much more phrasal, idiomatic meaning. I was pulled over for speeding, to be pulled over for something or for doing something. I was pulled over for speeding and got an extra ticket by trying to pay the cops off. Excellent. Perfect. Perfect. Come to Egypt. I love Egypt. I lived in Cairo for a year. It's beautiful. Jamil. Jamil Jiddan. I can't remember. Is city feminine, so I'd have to say Jamila Jiddan? I can't even remember. I have a question. No questions right now. We'll do questions later. All right. So here, to pay up means to pay someone what you owe them. It means to give money to someone that they are supposed to get. You owe them, or maybe you were borrowing them money and now you have to give it back. So that is to pay up. All right. So that is to pay up. So for example, so that's the literal meaning. So let me give you some examples for that. I owe the bank, let's say $200, and I need to pay up tomorrow. Or I borrowed money from a friend and I have to pay up before they get angry. To pay back. Exactly. That's basically the literal meaning, Vladimir. Excellent. To pay someone back. To pay up is more informal. So to pay someone back means to pay up. Also, when we always say to pay someone back. We can't say I need to pay up the bank. No, it's always just to pay up. No object. So we just say pay up. And it's often a command, like pay up. Like give me the money, man. All right, so that's to pay up. It can also have a more idiomatic meaning less literal. So if you say you're going to do something for me, let's say you say you're going, to do me a favor spelled like that, Favor, then I can say pay up. It's like it's due. So kind of as the idiomatic meaning, it can kind of mean like do what you said you were going to do. Or kind of like do it. But it's when someone owes you something, is supposed to do something. Hey, Amy Booktube, how are you? I lent him, I don't think he's going to pay up the money that I lent him 2 years ago. Excellent. I love it, dude. Rock on. All right. So that is to pay up. We have a few more. Actually, we have one more, and then we're going to review. All right. Oh, what is this? There's something. There we go. All right. So our last one, and then it is time to review, is to save on something. Yeah, it's very, very different. To pay off something, means to pay for something, or at least to pay for part of something. And so that's for a thing. To pay off something like a debt or an amount of money you owe is to pay for all of it or some of it. But remember, very different meaning. To pay someone off means to bribe someone. So these have extremely, when the preposition changes, the majority of the time, the meaning changes completely. So you have to be very careful with phrasal verbs. But I will say this, because I made a mistake myself this morning speaking with someone in English. Also, sometimes, because we have so many different phrasal verbs, we mess up. So let me talk. Oftentimes, native speakers also mess up, meaning make mistakes with the prepositions. So sometimes the change in preposition doesn't really matter. It's wrong. You can tell it's wrong, but the meaning stays the same. Other times, and we don't make these mistakes as native speakers, you use the wrong preposition and it has a completely different meaning. So that's why just experiment, because sometimes the mistake doesn't even matter. Sometimes it does, though. So be careful. Be careful. All right, we have one more here, and that is to save on something. And I already told you, to save on something means to save. Yeah, to spend less, like to get a discount. Perfect. Who was that? Lola? Excellent. Exactly. Lola said to save on something is to spend less money on something. Perfect. So for example, I had a coupon. So I saved on I saved on the car. You don't get coupons for car. Oh, hey, what's up, Hala? Nice to see you here. So that is to save on something, to spend less. Exactly. You got it. to spend less on something or for something. We can also say to spend less. On is more common though. You guys, we oftentimes can use different prepositions. We always have a lot of choices. Spend less for something. No, on is so much more common. Let's just say on. To spend less on something. But maybe you can also use for. Everyone should save on water. Exactly. Water should be free. It's a natural resource. It's a human necessity. It's a human right to access to free water. All right, you guys, it's time. It's time to review. To keep some amount, it means to save it. It's time to review. So I'm going to type them. Everyone try to give me some examples. Here we go. To buy someone off. To buy someone out. To buy up something. Oh, you're at work? That's all right. Well, next time. Next time. And then we have to cash in on something. All right. And then we have to pay someone off. To pay something off. To save on something. Whoops. I put these in the wrong order. And to pay up. So I'm going to give you a couple seconds to try to write your examples, and I will read them. So get to work. What questions did you guys have? I left work. Not my work. When you say I left my work, it's like a specific moment. Actually, no, we never really use the possessive pronoun with work. It's always I left work if we're talking about now, today, or just in general, like in your example. I left work as a lawyer because you must save on every paper. I don't know what you mean saving on paper there. You're trying to spend less money? Lola, does it? Lola in English, you guys, Mohit said that in Hindi, Lola can mean something bad. It's interesting because in English, Lola or Lolita is usually bad because it's usually related to underage yet attractive girls or guys who find these girls attractive, but they're underage, so it's illegal. It's kind of a taboo topic. But here are my examples to give you one more example with all of our vocab. This is our review. To buy someone off means to bribe someone, to give them money to do something. My goal is to cash in on my analytic skills. Dang, Roberto. Is it Roberto or Roberto? Awesome example, dude. So that is to buy. Which example did I just give? Yeah, to buy someone off is to bribe someone. And then we can say to buy someone out. Is it Roberto? Okay. And then to buy someone out usually means to force someone out of a company by purchasing the majority. The pet name is, oh, actually, yeah. No, but I think, is it Lola or Lulu? I have a very good Egyptian friend whose name is Lulu. All right, but here we go. And then we have to buy something up. To buy something up means to buy all of it or nearly all of it. All right. And then we have to cash in on something. To cash in on something means to get your money's worth. To get your money's worth. Tenzin, excellent. All right, and then we have to pay something off. Basically just means to pay for something, but to pay someone off means to bribe someone, right? Not good. Giving someone money in an illegal way. All right, then we have to pay up. To pay up means to pay what you owe someone, or basically to do what you were supposed to do. Lollipop. Lollipop, it's like a sucker. A lollipop is basically, it's a big circular sucker. That's a lollipop. And then we had one more here, to save on something, or to save money. To save money on something means to spend less than you had to spend not as much. All right. So that's it. If you have any questions, just send me a message, all right? You guys, also, we are going to be live on Instagram in 30 minutes. And in Instagram is when I answer your general questions. All right? So meet me on Instagram at For Your English to answer all of these questions. Correct spelling for what? Yeah, that's how you spell lollipop. I think there's only one L. L-O-L-I pop. I will take 10 minutes to perform. Ah, okay. Is it that time? Yeah, that's a lot of prayers in the day. All right. So I will see you live in 30 minutes. If you have any more questions, quickly put them now, both for my name and other names too. What was that? Vladimir said, something may seem useless now. We could say this, Vladimir. Something may seem like a useless thing now, but sometime later you can cash in on it. Dude, Vladimir, excelente, man. That was very good. Great example. No, it can't be 1 hour. um, oh, Tenzin, let me answer that in the Instagram chat, okay? Because I do have to go quickly. What was I going to mention? Oh, tomorrow. You guys, tomorrow, all day on YouTube, we are live at the same time. Tomorrow, I think tomorrow is slang. So tomorrow is slang. So I will see you here tomorrow for the slang vocabulary. But I will see you guys later. See you tomorrow. If you have any questions, comment, send me a message. It's been a lot of fun, and I'll see you later, all right? Hey, there is a link in the chat because we are about to talk about fitness. We're going to start by reading an article to see how native speakers are using some fitness slang and gym slang. Number 2, in the document that you have in the chat and in the description, we are going to look at some other slang related to the gym and fitness, like jacked, gains, swole, gym rat, roid rage, and cardio bunny. Really good stuff. And then we will review, and we'll have a really good time doing all of it. If you want to join the full slang course, about 600 slang, here is a link. Hey, Abhishek, nice to see you. Tenzin, everyone is here. So let's get started. Join me in this document. Hey, Zayed, join me in the document so that we can get started. Looking at how, from GQ and Alex Wong, hey Manat, how to use this slang. So how to get in shape when you are washed. Now washed, Mr. Alex Wong is going to explain this, but he never uses a more popular expression, which is to be washed out. Now, to be washed out means it is pretty much exactly the same as washed, but washed out is a more popular phrasal verb. Hey, Rahab. So to be washed out means like past your prime, kind of done, not getting or not getting any better anymore, not improving. So it's really past your prime. Your prime, especially talking about your body, when you are physically at your peak, physically best. But it can also be your prime related to your work and studies and career in general. So if you're washed out, it means you're going downwards. You're kind of failing and not succeeding anymore. And he just says washed, but I don't like that because that can be confusing for you guys because there's another vocabulary term which is just for an event, and this is like for an event or activity. And to be a wash means just to be a failure. Talking about like an event, like how was the party? Oh, it was a wash. It was just bad, terrible. So that's to be a wash. It means like to be a failure. So I just be careful. I would say, talking about a person, their success, say to be washed out, because to be a wash means like it just didn't work well. It's kind of a failure, a disappointment. But let's continue now, because there's some really good vocab here. So Alex starts, the authoritative resource for explaining modern vocabulary, and this is true. If you need help with slang and other informal English, urbandictionary.com is the best. I really recommend it. Hey June, how you doing? So go to urbandictionary.com because it is amazing. Native speakers use it all of the time. You should too. So Urban Dictionary defines washed as simply, you used to be the shit, but now you ain't the shit. Oh my gosh, so much vocab here. What was this? Professionally as washed out is an American. I don't know that, Carreras. What is that? Ernest, I've never heard of that. To be the shit. Hey, Lola. Oh, this is really good vocab. This is not related to fitness, but really good vocab. To be the shit just means to be awesome. It's very, very informal. Very informal. And vulgar, because we have shit. Shit is a more vulgar, inappropriate way to say poop. Hey, Kayala. To be the shit. You can use this for people and things. All right? So you can say he's the shit. This game is the shit. People and things. Let's keep going. But now you ain't the shit. Remember, ain't technically not good grammar, but we use it in spoken English all the time. So you used to be really cool, but now you're not. That's basically to be washed out, or in this case, just washed. But I've never used washed by itself, but maybe it's becoming more popular. Who knows? So by this broad, meaning big, and damning definition, we can deduce that it is something that happens to everyone. To be the shit doesn't mean messed up. No, no. There are different uses of shit, but when we say the shit, it's good, very, very positive. At some point, you are the shit, and it's possible that you remain the shit for a very long while. And then one day, without warning, your back starts hurting and never stops. So now they're talking about like how you get washed. Your body basically gets washed out. The shit just means awesome, amazing. That's all it means. Did we have any here? So at some point just means, some point, sometime in your life. Very indefinite idea of time here. Yeah, let's keep going. Not so much more vocab there. Broad just means very, very general. So broad just means general. And very broad time, right? Yeah, a very, very broad definition. Oftentimes, one of the first things to disappear is that youthful, effortless dedication to a fitness routine. A routine? Everyone has routines. A routine is just something you do regularly, So you probably have a morning routine. For me, it's drinking coffee, taking a shower, eating some food. That's my morning routine. So whoops. A routine. So a routine is just anything that you do habitually, regularly. Do you have a routine? Try to put the cursor on the word in the doc. Oh, I'm using a different document. Routine, you have habits. A routine is made up of or composed of habits. All right? So a routine is kind of describing all of the stuff that your habits make. So you have a morning routine, an afternoon routine. Try giving me another example. Let's see. Perhaps you are weighed down by the adult responsibilities that creep into your life. No, a schedule is more about organization. They can be, yeah, a routine and a schedule can be the same thing, but their meanings can also be different depending on context. So try giving me an example, and I can tell if you're right or wrong. For something to creep, yeah, everyone does have a routine. To creep means to be sneaky, to appear unexpectedly, and often more gradually. So usually if something creeps into your life, it did not happen very quickly, it was not expected, and it's usually bad. If something creeps into your life, it's usually bad or negative too. That's why another term for a person, if you are a creep, you are basically a stalker, a scary, unwanted person who you don't like. That is a creep. So if you're online and there's someone talking to you, especially if you're a woman and there's a guy talking to you and you want him to go away, or in real life too, that's a creep. Or a creepy thing, yeah, that's more like scary, June, exactly. To creep you out means to be scared. To creep someone out means to scare or weird someone out. Not slip, Carlelas. I don't know what slip is, but sneak creep. No, that's the literal definition of to creep. It means to be like stealthy and sneaky. We're talking about slang here, which is very different. Okay. So these things, hey bro, what's up? Tamari? Tamar, is that how you say it? Anyways, good to see you. Perhaps you are weighed down. To be weighed down by something means to have too much of something. Too much. Okay, so perhaps you are weighed down. It means to be bothered or slowed down by something, or too much of something, or too much of something. Laboratory? What are you talking about, Eddie? Laboratories? Bro, are you in the same article? By the time you spend... Oh, okay, you are weighed down, you are slowed down or hindered by the time you spend avoiding the adult responsibilities that creep slowly appear into your life. For one reason or another, many of us conclude that at some point working out just became a bit too much. So really what Alex is saying in this article, and there's a link if you want to read the full article in GQ, is that as you get older, you get tired, you get kind of lazy, things creep into your life, they weigh you down, and it becomes harder to work out because you're just so busy and exhausted. Hey, Noah. All right. So now, with British and U.S. accent, maybe they're the same. Addy, let's stick to the topic, man. We can talk about specific words in the Instagram after this video. Uh, so we're going to review in a little bit, but right now, our main stuff, go down. We got some really good gym and fitness slang to look at. Number one, to be jacked. To be jacked, we can also say to be ripped. It just means to be in really good shape and probably with some nice muscles. So usually, if you just do aerobics and cardio like running, swimming, walking, that kind of stuff, you will get in good shape, but you don't get muscles from doing those types of exercises. If you want to be jacked, you have to weight lift. You have to do resistance training, basically to build muscle. And if you do aerobic or balance or other types of exercise, you're not going to get jacked. Jacked is specifically really talking about big muscles. So if you are jacked, you got really big muscles, and it looks good. When we talk, our next one is gains. Gains is also more so used when talking about building muscle. So we could say big gains. It just means big improvement in your exercise, especially big noticeable improvements. And again, it's really saying that you're seeing bigger muscles. So it could be bigger muscles or doing a better job like running. So if you see gains in running, you might be able to use it that way to mean you're running better, faster, and longer distances. But really, gains is again related to gaining muscle. That's why we say gains, to gain muscle or to put on muscle. So it's probably really used just for men. I think Rahab mentioned that. It's probably not good for women. But to get gains, actually, no. I think if you're working out in general, as a man or a woman, you probably want to add some muscle or maybe even some definition. So those are gains. Now to be swole, this is a good one. Swole is used, it's being used in some very new ways recently, but let's focus on the much more common use here. To be swole, again, just means to be jacked or to look jacked, but especially right after working out. So we had jacked, gains, and now swole. So if you are swole, it means you look big and muscular, but it's often more temporary right after working out. So you can say, oh, I just did like 10 sets or how many reps, and now I feel swole, or you look swole. It means your muscles are torn and ripped, and they're looking bigger. That's swole. You can also just say, dude, that dude is swole. It means he looks big. I do save these live videos, and that is something I just started called the Daily English class. So I will tell you more about that later. So after working out. Now, a gym rat is someone who spends all their time at the gym, loves to talk about the gym. That is a gym rat. So a gym rat, someone who is always at the gym, always exercising, and probably talks too much about the gym. It's probably not fun to talk to them because that's all they want to talk about. And roid rage, our last, oh no, we got two more. Roid rage is basically, it can, literally, it's about someone who takes steroids and gets angry because of it. But it's also used to describe someone who works out a lot and gets angry or looks angry. Is your younger cousin a gym rat? I believe it, man. So that's roid rage. We say to have roid rage most of the time. And it's really used for extremely big guys or anyone, maybe a gym rat who's just kind of angry, and you could say that because they're angry, it's roid rage. It's really an insult. And then finally, a cardio bunny, basically the opposite of everything that we've been talking about, is someone who just does cardio and aerobics, but no resistance training, no weightlifting. training, or weightlifting. Remember, resistance training, weightlifting, same thing. Just means pumping iron, we can also say. No pumping iron. So, you know, a cardio bunny just runs, maybe swims, maybe walks, does some yoga, maybe some tai chi, stuff like that, but no real resistance training, so they never get swole, they never get jacked. So, there you go. And let's just a quick review. Jacked means very big muscles, defined, big dude. Or big woman too, who knows. Gains means putting on weight, but maybe putting on weight, but especially maybe muscle. Getting big gains at the gym. Swole means you look big, especially like right after you might feel swole, but it can be a permanent characteristic too. A gym rat, spending too much time at the gym. Roid rage, an angry person. Kind of a negative way to characterize someone who looks upset, and they also look like someone who spends a lot of time at the gym. And a cardio bunny, someone who doesn't do that weightlifting kind of stuff, just focuses, probably very thin or skinny, maybe even scrawny, and that's how we would characterize it. So that was today's main topic. Let's go back to the article now. Look at some of the stuff. Yeah, the gym lingo. Remember, guys, lingo is a nice term. Lingo just means like a specific vocabulary related to a topic. To be jacked, caught up by doing something wrong. No, you can jack something, Abhishek. That's to steal something, but that's just to jack something. It's like to steal something. Or my wallet was jacked. No, I save these in a specific part. I'll have it finished by the end of the week, but I'm saving these in a specific place. Okay, so let's finish here. Let's actually do a review, you guys. Are you ready? What does it mean? What does it mean to be the shit? Can you remind me? To be the shit. Remember, it can be for a thing or a person, but to be the shit. And then we had abroad. A broad definition, yeah, to be amazing. If you or something is the shit, it's not just good. It's really good. Yeah, the best. Really, it's the best. Excellent. Okay. Awesome, cool, exactly. How would you define a routine? This isn't slang, but it's an important word to know. Lit. Ooh, lit is good. There's some more slang. Exactly. What does it mean? I'm going to use a few of the different definitions here. So first, what if I say, exactly, a schedule, repeated, not necessarily work, but yeah, like a collection of habits. Exactly, all very good, you guys. What if I said, he's a creep? Don't talk to him. He's a creep. What am I saying? What if I said, some things just creep into your life? So that's pretty different. What am I saying there? And let's keep going here. What does it mean to weigh someone down? Talking about like a thing. A creep can be like a stalker. That's the most extreme. Yeah, Zayed's got it. It's more like a weirdo. A weirdo makes you feel uncomfortable. Could be a stalker, Abhishek, like I said before, but that's like the extreme. So it's less common that way. He is creepy, exactly, or creeps you out, kind of scares you. What does it mean if something weighs you down? What do you think about that? If you feel weighed down by something, what are we trying to describe here? For example, if I said, I can't do these lives anymore because I just feel weighed down by all of my other responsibilities. Whoops. Yeah, kind of not demotivated, unmotivated. How do you spell responsibility? Oh, I'm just going to type it like that. Burdened by something. That's good too. I like that. So yeah, you are burdened by, or you are unmotivated. We don't say demotivate. Unmotivate, we can say unmotivated as an adjective, or to unmotivate someone, or discourage. Discourage means like the same thing. To discourage someone. Responsibility. What was that one? Disappointed. Disappointed is quite different. You're disappointed because something didn't happen or wasn't what you thought, and so you feel bad because of that. So disappointed, the focus is somewhere else. It's a little different than unmotivated, but it's a good one. So you guys, I will see you. We're going to review this slang in 30 minutes on Instagram, instagram.com/forYourEnglish. Whoops, I spelled it wrong. Jesus, I can't type today. For your English. Oh no, Anyways, you'll know where to find me. So we're going to review this slang on Instagram. Tomorrow we are doing spoken English. I can't remember what exactly, but I will see you here tomorrow. If you want to join the full course, do that. And if you got any more questions, go on Instagram quick, put your questions, and I will try to answer as many as I can. Just go to the Instagram story. I will see you on Instagram. I don't know how many times I'm going to say. Hey, Matthew. Hello. Who else is there? Megna. Good to see you. What's the order? We got number one. We are looking at this article. I gave you a link. We are reading about skateboarding, a really good interview for some slang, some very informal English. Then number two, today's main topic, we are looking at some slang that a lot of people don't like, and also just a question of, should you use slang? Should you not use slang? Hey, hey Avishek. And then number three, we will review, if we have time, some of the vocabulary and read more from our article in Thrasher. I am good, Manat. How are you? Tenzin is here. Everybody is here. Okay, so let's get going, huh? So I gave you the link. It's in the chat. It's also in the description. We have Thrasher Magazine, Evan Smith interview. Some really good slang, you guys. So let's take a look. This is by Michael Burnett. So let's start. This is an interview. So it's great spoken English and also just really, really good slang and informal vocabulary. So what's up? I am good. How are you? Nice to see you. So this is the interviewer. So the interviewer is in bold, the big darker letters. And Evan Smith, the skateboarder, the person who is being interviewed, is in the regular font. All right, so interviewer, what are you doing right now? This is good. We also just use this, all of it. This is a great question for any conversation that you have. What are you doing right now? It's just a great way to start a conversation. Ask someone what you're doing. Yeah, yesterday I put the wrong link. So just a great way. What are you doing right now? Just to ask someone what's up, kind of like what they're doing. So use this. What are you doing right now? You could ask me this. What are you doing right now? Maybe a friend calls me. Yo, what are you doing right now? It means what's up? What are you doing? How are you? So I can say, oh, I'm doing a live video. Can I call you back? Click. So it's a great way to start a conversation. Use it all the time. And Evan says, I'm in Pittsburgh and I just got done unpacking and now I am repacking. To unpack just means to take stuff out of your suitcase. To repack means to pack again. So he traveled somewhere and it must have been a very short trip because he is repacking. So to repack is to pack again. So it must have been a very, very, very short trip because he is packing again. Any interviewer says, where'd you go? Where are you going to next? You can definitely answer with nothing much. What are you doing right now? Nothing much. Whenever you hear a question that is a greeting and it starts with what, 99% of the time, you can respond with nothing much. You can say nothing much, not a lot, nada, all great options. So the interviewer asks, where did you go? I have to fix the screen. There we go. And Evan says, this year has been fucking mental. So in this case, fucking is very informal, and it just means very. It's very informal, but it's also vulgar. All right, so inappropriate, but it just means very. All right, so very. So we can't say it. You don't want to say it. Remember, slang is very informal. It just means very, although it's very informal and a bit inappropriate. You can use it with friends. You don't want to say it to your boss, maybe your parents, anything like that. And mental is excellent. Mental means crazy. So how was your week? Oh, it was mental. So it means like chaotic, messy, a bit unorganized. So this year has been fucking mental. It's been fucking crazy. I've been all over the globe, which is such an awesome experience. We went to Barcelona for a month. We went to Australia, went to South America multiple times, just went to Brazil with DC. DC is a skateboard company, specifically shoes, some clothing, stuff like that. The reason why we've been traveling so much is because Element, another skateboard company, is making a video, and I'm trying to put out a Thrasher part in January. This is good. Put out something. So we have a phrasal verb here too. This isn't slang. You can use this in any situation. To put something out talking about creating just means to produce. So Evan is trying to put out a video. So when talking about creating, to put out just means to make something. So he's trying to make a video. So me too, I'm trying to put out this live. So I'm making it. And after we're live, I'm going to put it out publicly. So it's just a regular video. But usually we put out videos, we put out content, we put out things that we create and distribute and give to a larger audience. I hope to experience a mental year like this. No, mental is bad. It's disorganized, chaotic, messy. Mental can be good. You could say, how was the party? Oh, it was mental. So it can be good. It just means crazy, not necessarily bad or good. But you don't want to have a mental year. That sounds like a really messy, disorganized, crazy year. So you don't want a mental year, I promise you. So he's going to put out a part in Thrasher. Here's what we say here. A part, when we talk about anything where you perform, a part is just a performance. So he's a skateboarder. So your part is being on film. And so he wants to have a part in this video, this skateboard video. So he's going to try to put it out later. So he still has to film it, he still has to record it, and then try to distribute it to everyone. So that is a part. It's basically a performance, a role. And it's a skateboard video. So he wants a role, he wants a part. And with the combination of those two things, traveling and trying to put out a part, I've been going non-stop. If you ever see the prefix non, it just means not. So he's not stopping. It's completely busy mental year. So very non-stop, busy, crazy, hectic year. Continuous without stop. It sounds like he's having fun though. And the interviewer says, dude, that's crazy. Back to Evan. So I just unpacked, and then I'm going to repack, and I'm going to leave on the 4th to Minneapolis and Australia. Minneapolis is a city in Minnesota, a city in the United States. Then come back for the holidays. We don't know what holidays he's talking about, but generally when we hear the holidays, it's kind of a set expression. So usually the holidays means like Christmas, maybe actually from Thanksgiving to New Year's. So that includes Christmas too. So if you ever hear the holidays, it's Thanksgiving, it's around this time, from Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's in the United States. That's the holidays, most generally. Okay? And then in January, I'm throwing a party in LA. Oh, this is great. To throw a party just means to have a party. To have a party. Or to put on a party. So Evan is going to throw a party, to give a party. That's all he's going to do. And what kind of party? What's the occasion? What's the reason for the party? He says, I'm releasing a shoe. If you're a skateboarder, also most athletes in general, if you're very, very famous, you have a special shoe that you help design. So it's your, what do they call it? There's a special word for it. My bags get tired of, no, that's strange. That's strange for hobby. I wouldn't say that. My bags get tired of unmovement. It doesn't make sense. Bags don't have emotion. So it's strange just to even make that sentence. I like the effort though. What we're talking about, a shoe, yeah. So athletes release shoes. Skateboarders are basically athletes. So you get a special designer shoe. What do they call it? There's a special term for it, but I can't remember. I'm releasing a shoe, so I'm going to try to throw a party for all of my friends. Remember, to throw a party is to put on a party, to have a party. Because it's cool that I'm getting a shoe and all, but I want to give something back to all my buddies. It's funny that for this guy, to give back, we definitely don't give back this way. I mean, it is. To give back really is like to help other people, to help your community. If you can't see the type, it's probably because of your mobile. I see it on here, and it's in the document, though, so I'm sorry. You can look at it later. Usually to give back is like helping your community. But what Evan here is talking about, he wants to give back to his friends. And it's funny, because usually to give back is like charity, donating money or time to help people who are less fortunate, homeless people, maybe kids who don't have parents, orphans. You can give back in a ton of different ways. But Evan's saying, I want to give back by getting my friends drunk. This is a very skateboarder article, obviously. So Evan says, I'm going to give back to all my buddies so they can have a place and a time to enjoy it. So Evan seems like a nice guy. He cares about his friends. Together and hopefully use it as an opportunity to bring people like you, the interviewer, and Dave Hong, I don't know how you pronounce that, and all my closest friends in the industry together to celebrate our existence. Oh, that sounds great, Evan. And then the final part, is this party going to have any special theme or twist? Now here, just especially in spoken English, in informal pronunciation, gonna is going to. Going to becomes gonna in spoken English. So that's gonna, Gonna. Okay. So I'm gonna see you. I'm gonna go later. Are we gonna have enough time? We do, if you're speaking slower or in a more formal situation in spoken English, you can say going to. I'm going to do it, especially if you're emphasizing that you're going to do it later. But otherwise, I would say the majority of the time, even when we do emphasize, we still say gonna. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it later. It's really good. Going to, say gonna. It sounds better in spoken informal English. No, I'm hoping there'll be some rock and roll bands talking about activities at his party so that people can mosh around. I'm hoping there will be an open bar of some sort so everyone can drink. If you're a skateboarder at these parties, it's like always drinking. If you're into skateboarding, there's a very good show you can watch online. It's called King, I think it's called Thrasher's King of the Road. It's just random activities, drinking, fun skateboarder stuff. But he also, another term he used here was tamash. Tamash, when we're at a concert or a live event, it's just to like jump around, and kind of hit other people with your body. Some people like that. That is to mosh. You do it at concerts and other live events. Okay, so that was the article. Now, our topic today, we are looking at some slang and if you should use it, if you should not use it. Some people say no, other people say yes, which is kind of a really big question. Yes, it is totally insane. It's a big question with slang because here's the thing with slang. Slang is often used only by specific groups or specific parts of the population. So some people don't like certain slang words. Some slang kind of belongs or is really only used by certain parts of a population. So I only use slang that I'm comfortable with and that kind of is appropriate to my lifestyle. So some slang I don't use, some slang I do, and there are some slang words that in general the population says this slang sucks. You know, some slang is only for teenagers, some slang is used by older adults. So let's look at some of these slang words, starting with ox. Ox is short for awkward. Ox. So if I say, oh, that's ox, this sounds like, I can already tell that this sounds like teenager slang. It's not something I would use because it's just too young for me, and it doesn't sound natural when I say it. So if someone says, oh, that's ox, they're saying that's awkward. So this one's not hard to understand. I mean, should you stop? It sounds like teenage slang. Who cares, right? You don't have to stop using it, but if you're older, you probably don't want to use it. So ox, I would just say awkward. That is awkward. Let's go to the next one, which is extra. You hear extra quite a bit. I might use it. I wouldn't say, oh, okay, you said talking in slang. Remember, slangs is not a word, slang. Or we can say slang words, but never slangs. Slang is an uncountable noun. Slang. Slang is important in formal English. You don't have to use it, but you definitely need to understand it. So that's why even if you don't plan on using slang, or even phrasal verbs that we often discuss in idioms, you need to understand them if you want to be fluent. You don't have to use them. You can use regular vocabulary. Hey, Vikas. But you definitely have to understand them. So extra just means kind of like over the top, too much. It's like kind of pretending or trying to appear, or trying to appear or acting too enthusiastic, or what's the right way to describe it? But it's like too much. It's basically too much. Um, to appear or acting too enthusiastic, or relevant. Yeah. Let me give you some examples. Like with clothes. Oh, that he dresses so extra. It means he's trying to wear like the best designer clothes. It's over the top. It's too much. It's like he's only wearing that Adidas or that Nike because he thinks it's popular, because he thinks it's cool. So basically, let's say this: extra is kind of trying to act cool by doing too much of something. That's one way to think about it. So we could say this movie is extra. You know, it just has too much of something. Usually it's too much of something. The opposite, I don't know if it's in this list, it's not, is basic. The opposite of extra is basic. If someone is basic, they're just ordinary and boring. So it's kind of an insult if someone says you're basic. So we have someone on one hand who is extra. Yeah, extra just means too much. So it means like they're always over the top. Maybe they're just too excited. They try too hard. Or maybe something is just has too much of something. On the other hand, we have someone or something that is basic. They're just boring, dull, uninteresting. So, you know, maybe just me wearing this is kind of basic. You know, I would say it's kind of minimalist. It's plain. But to someone else, they might say, you need patterns, you need design. Your shirt is basic. And I'd say, man, blah, blah, blah. Anyways. So should you use that? I might have used it a couple times, more jokingly. But this one's very popular, basic and extra. Fake news. This one, I guess, is kind of slang, but it just means anything that you think is fake or exaggerated or just untrue. Fake news. And you usually use it as an exclamation. So we usually like shout it, like Donald Trump likes to say it. Fake news. Fake news. Fake news. So if you ever hear something that you don't think is true, you can say fake news. This one you actually hear quite a bit in formal situations too, because it's used to talk about the news a lot. So Donald Trump uses it, politicians use it, journalists use it, although a lot of people use it ironically, meaning not being serious, more as a joke, something like that. Now we have GOAT, spelled G-O-A-T, G-O-A-T, exactly. Embarrassed herself by acting so extra. Awesome example and good definition of fake news to be shaken, something not true. Now we have GOAT, which means greatest of all time. And usually we use this just by itself. And we say like someone is the GOAT or just GOAT. So we could say like Kendrick Lamar, GOAT. So you usually see it online. You can't say it verbally, but usually when you're talking, you'll just say the greatest of all time. Exactly, greatest of all time. Squad goals, or also just goals. This has a few different meanings. One, it can just mean like how you want your friend group to be, like kind of how you want your circle of friends to be, thinking of, you know, who would be some awesome friends to have and what would be things that we do. Exactly, extras added so that it's not normal. So that's one way. Squad goals can also just mean like a fun time. So especially as a caption on Instagram or Twitter, and you just put hashtag squad goals, and you have like a picture of you guys doing fun stuff. So you can use it that way. And also squad goals can just mean like cool, awesome. MJ is GOAT of hoops. Yeah, you might say just GOAT. Some people also say the GOAT, especially when you're talking. He's the GOAT. But when you're typing, it doesn't really matter because it's very informal. So squad goals, I have never used this. I think women use this more, just from how I see it used on social media. But you can say like squad goals and then like a photo of really cool people hanging out. It can also just mean cool. And then finally, turnt. Turnt can mean a few things. First, for a person, it means like drunk, really messed up. It can be other drugs too, but mostly just alcohol. If you're turnt, you're super drunk. But it can also be for like an event, especially for any event. Let's just keep it for an event. It means like crazy, chaotic. So if an event is turnt, it's just crazy. off the wall. And then finally, yes. This is super popular now. It's really just yes, but more emphatic. It just means like awesome. It's like yes plus excitement. Yes. I don't use this too much. This kind of belongs more to like other groups that I don't really identify with. I hear it a ton. I do use it quite a bit, but I don't really use it so much when I'm actually out talking with friends. So yas, you hear it a ton. You also hear other versions like yas, yas queen. You basically use yas and then plus anything like yas Abhishek. Great example. Yas is just yes, but with a lot more emphasis and excitement. This is originally the reason that I don't really use it is because originally it comes from more like the black and gay communities in the U.S. That's where the word originated and where you hear a lot more people using it. So that kind of becomes a question of cultural appropriation, and it's just not a term that I grew up with, so I don't use it a ton. Um, so career goals, squad goals, good definitions there. So that's yas. Use it if you want to. No big deal. It's super popular. So a quick review. Aux just means awkward. It's really just for younger people, especially like teenagers and younger. Extra just means like too much. And basic means maybe not enough. Fake news is anything you don't think is true. Goat or the goat is the person you think is the greatest of all time. Squad goals can just mean cool or like how you think your group of friends should be. Turnt can mean awesome, crazy, or if you're feeling turnt, you're kind of drunk. And then yas is like yes with just a ton of excitement. So that was our topic. All right, now let's review from our article, all right? So I'm going to give you a few words, and I would love it if you can start defining them for me. All right, so what does it mean if I say, what are you doing right now? And how can you respond? And how can you respond to this? So tell me, what are you doing right now? Or tell me, what are you doing today? All right? And what does it mean to unpack and repack? Let's see who can get the most of these, all right? What does it mean if something is fucking mental? Remember, there's the two terms there that we went over today, fucking and mental. Of course, fucking is vulgar, a bit inappropriate, so be careful when you use that. Yeah, exactly. But respond in full sentences. Come on. You have to respond in full sentences because otherwise you're never going to improve your English. What does it mean to put something out when talking about creating? What does it mean to have a part, especially like in a video, a play, a performance, anything like that? What does it mean to do something nonstop? Let's see who can get the most of these. Come on, guys. What are the holidays? Nothing much, just hanging out. Oh, perfect, Tenzin. Awesome. Throwing a party. What does it mean to throw a party? This is super common vocabulary. You guys need, this article is excellent. I'm very, very impressed by Thrasher. Good job. Remember the link for the full article is in the document. What's up? That's what it means, exactly. What does it mean to give something back? In this case, like to the community. What are we trying to describe there? And in spoken English, mental means crazy. Excellent. I love it. And oh, what in spoken English, what happens to going to? How does it sound and how do we spell it in spoken English? Tenzin says to unpack means to take out stuff from your baggage. Exactly. And to repack, to pack again. Whenever you see re, it means like to repeat. Yes, I'm waiting for the concert because it's a specific concert, Abhishek. But good example. And then our last one, to mosh. What does it mean to mosh? Usually like at a concert or event. To have a part, to create. So to have a part means to perform. To create is to put on something. I think that's the example that we had here. Let's see. Where were we? To put out. To put out is what we use there. And then nonstop cleaning because of dusty winds. Exactly. I'm cleaning. I would say this. I'm cleaning nonstop. Let's just use the verb. To throw, not through, I think that's just a spelling mistake. To throw a party means to have a party. Exactly. That's awesome. To throw a party. Do you want to have a part in something, no carreras? We need to say like, do you want to have a part in my video? Or do you want to have a part in the project? Right? It means to have a contribution. Perfect. Awesome example. It's really good. And then we had the holidays. That's like all of that holiday period in the U.S. from Thanksgiving until New Year's. And then we had to throw a party. We did that. And then to give back is like to contribute to something, especially something or a group of people that helped you in the past. That's why we give back to the community, because the community helped you before. So much good vocab. Oh, and then gonna. Gonna is what going to becomes in spoken English. And tamash is like to go to a concert and be like, blah, like that. Okay, so much good vocab. If you have any questions about it, send me a question. To give back means to do something good for society, to do something good for society. Very good, Tenzin. Awesome example. All right, and you're writing that on mobile? Really good work, Tenzin. To have a part, that's to play a part. To pitch in is to play a part. Ooh, that's good vocabulary though. To play a part is to pitch in. Yep. Nice. All right, you guys. Well, that is it. I will see you in 30 minutes on Instagram, where I will answer your questions. So if you have a specific English question for me right now, go on Instagram, instagram.com/foryourenglish. Put your questions in the story for today's Instagram Live, and I will answer that in what? 30 minutes. See you in 30 minutes. Great talking to you. And if you have any more slang questions, put them in the comments. And tomorrow we are doing spoken English, so more speaking and conversation